Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, what we're going to look on is the May, June, January 2019 CSEC Mathematics past paper. Question number 1. -3 all squared plus -2 all squared is equal to. Now -3 all squared means -3 times -3. Plus -2 all squared means -2 times -2. So -3 times -3, that's going to give us positive 9, plus -2 times -2, that's going to give us positive 4. And 9 plus 4, that's going to give us 13. So our answer for number 1 is going to be C. Number 2. What number, when added to 1 and 1/3, gives 2? Now 1 and 1/3 means 1 plus 1/3. Now, what can we add to 1/3 that will give us 1? We can add 2/3, right? Now, you see that 2/3 plus 1/3, that's 1, plus 1 more, that's going to give us 2. So, our answer for number 2, that's going to be B, which is 2/3. Number 3, 11.1 divided by 0.01 is equal to. The approach that we're going to use to solving this question is to rewrite the question as a whole number. So they give us 1.1 divided by 0.01. Now 0.01 is the divisor and 11.1 is the dividend. What can we multiply the divisor by to give us a whole number? We can multiply the divisor by 100, right? And if we multiply the divisor by 100, we have to multiply the dividend by 100 to keep the question an equivalent question, right? So 11.1 times 100, that's going to result into 1,110 divided by 0.01 multiplied by 100, that's going to result in 1. And as you know, any number divided by 1 gives you back itself. So our answer here is going to be 1,110, which is C. Question 4. 12.5% of a sum of money is 40. What is the sum of money? We're going to let the sum of money be N, right? Now, 12.5% means 12.5 over 100. Remember, a half as a decimal is just 0.5. So it's going to be 12.5 over 100 times some money, and that money is N, and that must result in $40, right? So that's what this statement here is saying algebraically. Now we can solve this algebraically by just multiplying both sides by the inverse of 12.5 over 100, which is 100 over 12.5. So therefore, N is going to equal to 40 times 100 all over 12.5. And 40 times 100 over 12.5 is going to result in 320. So therefore, N is equal to $320, and our answer is going to be B. Question 5. A test was marked out of 80. A boy scored 60% of the marks on the test. How many marks did he score? Now, if he scores 60%, 60% as a fraction is 60 over 100. Times 80. 0 cancel out 0 here, and 0 in the numerator here, cancel out 0 in the denominator. And what we are left back with is 6 times 8, and that's going to give us 48. So our answer for number 5 is going to be B. Number 6. The square root of 81 lies between A, 13 and 14. Now the square of 13, that's going to give us 161. And the square of 14, that's going to give us 196. So of course, A is the answer here. Number 7. Which of the following set is defined by X is an element of Z such that X is greater than -2 or equal to -2, and X is less than or equal to 4. Now, if X is greater than or equal to -2, it means that -2 is going to be a part of the answer. Another digit that is greater than -2 is going to be -1, and 0, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. But X is less than or equal to 4. So these numbers will satisfy this inequality here. So our answer is going to be D. Number 8. If Q equals A, B, C, how many subsets can be obtained from the set Q? Now the formula for a subset is 2 raised to the power of n, where n is the amount of element inside the set. So here we have 3 elements inside the set. So clearly A cannot be the answer. B cannot be the answer. It's between C and D, and C cannot be the answer since the formula is 2 raised to the power of n. So it's going to be D, which is 2 raised to the power of 3. So our answer here is D. Item 9 refers to the following Venn diagram. And as you can see here, we have a Venn diagram with P and Q. In the Venn diagram, the number of elements in P is equal to 5, which is this 5 element here. And the number of element in Q is equal to 9. And the number of element in P union Q is equal to 10. What is the number of element in P intersect Q? Right? That's going to give us 4. Right? All you need to do is to add the number of element in P plus the number of element in Q and subtract that from the number of element in P union Q. Alright? Item number 11. If P equal 2, 3, 5, 7, Q equal 2, 3, 6, and S equal 2, 4, 5, then P intersect Q intersect S is, what we're going to do, we're going to look for the term, for the number that is common to all three sets. So when you look here, 2 is common to all three sets. That means that would be the intersection. So A is the answer here. Item 12 refers to the following Venn diagram. And here you can see the Venn diagram. Everything is shaded except P. In the Venn diagram, the shaded area is going to represent P complement. And that's going to be A. What P complements mean, it means everything outside of P. Okay? Item 13. If TT $6 is equivalent to US $1, then TT $15 in US is going to be. Now, if you note here, for $1 US, that is equivalent to $6, right, in TT dollars. That means we want to find how many of 15 TT dollars going to equivalent to in terms of US. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to divide. So it's going to be $15 divided by $6, right? And 15 divided by 6 is going to equal to 2.5. So our answer is going to be $2.50. It's going to be C here. Alright. If 7,000 is borrowed at a rate of 5% per annum for 3 years, the simple interest, which is SI in this case, is going to equal to the principal, which is P in this case, times the rate, which is R in this case. And the rate is in percentage, times time, which is T in this case, over 100. Right? All you're going to do, you're just going to substitute the values for PR and T. So P in this case is going to be the 7,000. So it's going to equal to 7,000 times the rate, which is 5 in this case, times the time, which is 3, all divided by 100%. Now 0 here will cancel out 0 here. This 0 will cancel out this 0. So what we're left back with is 70 times 5 times 3. So 3 times 5, that's going to be 15. And 15 times 70, that is going to equal to $1,050. So our answer is going to be D in this case. Number 15, a dress which costs $180 is being sold at a discount of 10%. The amount of the discount it's just going to be 10% of the cost price. And remember that 10% is the same thing as 10 over 100 times the cost price, which is 180 in this case. 0 here will cancel out 0 here. This 0 will cancel out the 0 here. And all we're left back with is just 18. So it's going to be C in this case. Number 16. The value of a plot of land is $18,000. Land tax is charged at a rate of 0.70 per $100 value. What is the total amount of tax paid for the land? Now, note the rate here. The rate is 70 cents per $100, right? And they told us that the cost of land is going to be 18,000. So what we need to do, we need to determine how many 100 we can get out of 18,000. So it's going to be 18,000 divided by 100, and we are going to multiply it by the rate, which is 0.70 in this case. So here 0 will cancel out 0, 0 will cancel out 0, so all we're left back with is 180 times 0.70, and 180 times 0.70, that's going to give us 126. So our answer is going to be B. Alright. Item 17. At the end of any year, a car is worth 5% less than what it was worth at the beginning of the year. Now, if it is worth 5% less, in other words, the car is now valued at 95%, right? That's what we know. Alright, continuing. If a car was worth 9,500 in December 2016, then the value in January 2016 was, so we don't know the value in January 2016, so let's call that X, right? And what we know is going to be the value of the car in January 2016 is going to be 95% of some money, which is X, which is going to equal to the cost of the car at the beginning of the year, which is 9,500. Now 95% as a fraction is just 95 over 100, so it's going to be 95 X over 100, which is going to equal to 9,500, right? And if we want to find X, and remember that X is the value of the car in 2016. So if we want to find the value of X, all we need to do is to multiply both sides by 100 over 95, because we want to transpose this to make X the subject of the formula. So if we multiply this side by 100 over 95, what we're going to left back with on this side is X, and what we're going to have on this side is 9,500 multiplied by 100 over 95. 95 into 95, that's going to be 1. 95 into 9,500, that's going to be 100. And 100 times 100, that's going to be 10,000. So a correct answer for number 17 is going to be B. Number 18, a loan of $8,000 was repaid in 24 equal months installment of $400. The rate of interest on the loan was. Now first we need to find the total amount of money paid for installment. So the total amount of money repaid is going to be 24 times 400, right? And 24 times 400, that's going to give us 9,600. So we know that the total amount of money that is repaid is 9,600. So for us to determine the interest, therefore, I'm going to use I for interest. So the interest is going to be equal to the 9,600 minus the loan that was borrowed, which is $8,000. And therefore the interest, which is I in this case, is going to equal to 1,600, going to equal to 1,600. So now that we know the interest, we can represent the interest as a percent of the original loan. So it's going to be 1,600 divided by 8,000, and because we want to represent it as a percent, we must multiply by 100. And 0 will cancel out 0 here, 0 will cancel out 0 here. 16 into 16, that's going to give us 1, and 16 into 80, that's going to give us 5, and 5 into 5, that's going to give us 1, and 5 into 100, that's going to give us 20. So therefore, as a percentage, it's going to be 20%. Alright, so answer is going to be D in this case. Number 19, a dinner at a restaurant was advertised at $60 plus 18% tax. The total bill for the dinner was, we need to find the amount of money for the tax. So the amount of money for the tax is going to be 18%, and 18% here just means 18 over 100 of the cost price, so it's times the cost price, which is $60. Now here 0 will cancel out 0, and 10 into 18, that's going to give us 1.8, so we're going to have 1.8 times 6, and 1.8 times 6, that's going to give us 10.8, so that's going to give us 10.8. So therefore the tax on the food is going to be $10.80. But remember that the total bill is going to be the original cost for the food, which is $60 plus the tax. So we're going to add $60 to the tax, and 60 plus 10, that's going to give us $70.80. So our answer is going to be B in this case. At a sale, each book was marked $3 off the original price. Daniel paid $46 for 2 books that had the same sale price. What was the original cost of 1 book? Right? So we know that he bought 2 books for $46, right? After the sale price was removed. So it's going to be $46 divided by 2, which is going to give us $23. But remember that $3 was removed off each book before he was given the total price. So we need to add back that $3. So it's going to be 23 plus 3, which is going to give us a final price of $26. Alright. So the cost of 1 book was actually $26. Question 21. 1 over 5x plus 2 over 3x is equal to, now we're given 1 over 5x, and we must combine that with 2 over 3x. Right? Now, here, the LCM, or a common denominator of 5x and 3x, that's going to be 15x. Five x into 15x, that's going to be 3, and we need to take that 3 to multiply the 1, so 3 times 1, that's still going to give us 3 plus 3x into 15x, that's going to give us 5, and 5 times 2, that's going to give us 10, and 3 plus 10, that's going to be 13 over 15, so our answer for 21 is going to be D. 22. When 5 is added to a certain number and the result is multiplied by 3, the final answer is 27. What is the original number? So we know that they are asking us when 5 is added to a certain number. Let's say the certain number is n. So when 5 is added to n, and the result of that is multiplied by 3, then it should result to 27, right? So this is what this statement here is saying algebraically. Now they need us to determine the original number. So here, we're going to divide both sides by 3 because we want to get rid of this times 3 here. We divide both sides by 3. 3 is cancelled 3. So what we're left back with is 5 plus n is equal to 27 divided by 3. That's going to give us 9. Now, n is going to equal to, what we're going to do is to subtract 5 from both sides. And if we subtract 5 from both sides, n is going to equal to 4. So our answer here is going to be A. Now to question 23. What is the value of x squared plus 3y all divided by xy if x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 2? Wherever you see x, you're going to put 4. And wherever you see y, you're going to put 2. So this is going to be 4 squared plus 3 times 2 all divided by 4 times 2. Now 4 squared here is going to give us 16, and 3 times 2, that's going to give us 6, and 16 plus 6, that's going to give us 22, all over 4 times 2, that's going to give us 8, right? Now, both 22 and 8 can be divided by 2, so we're going to divide the numerator by 2, and the denominator by 2. So if you divide the numerator by 2, we're going to get 11 over 4. And 11 over 4 as a mixed number, that's going to give us, we can get 2 groups of 4 out of 11. Keep our denominator of 4, and the remainder is going to be 3. So therefore, our answer is going to be D, which is 2 3/4. Question 24. If x is an integer that satisfies the inequality 2x greater than 4 and 2x is less than or equal to 6, then x is, in order to get x by itself, we need to divide each number by 2. So if you divide each number by 2, 4 divided by 2 will give you 2, 2x divided by 2 will give you x, and 6 divided by 2 will give you 3. So our answer here is going to be A. Question 25. The sum of two positive numbers P and Q is 32. Their difference is 12. What is the smallest number? So what we know that P plus Q, that is going to equal to 32. And we know that P minus Q is going to equal to 12. So as you note, we have a pair of simultaneous equations here. So we can do is to add both equations together. So P plus P, that's going to give us 2P and Q plus negative Q, that's going to give us 0, and 32 plus 12, that is going to equal to 44. We're going to divide both sides by 2 to find what P is. So clearly here, notice that 2 is going to cancel out 2. So P is going to equal to 44 divided by 2. That's going to give us 22. Alright? Now, we can determine what Q is going to equal to. Because if P is equal to 22, we're going to sub P equal 22 in the second equation. So where we see P, we're going to put 22. So therefore, 22 minus Q is going to equal to 12. So therefore, Q is going to equal to 22 minus 12, which is going to give us 10. So Q is equal to 10. So now we can answer the question. What is the smallest number? The smallest number is going to be 10. So our answer for 25 is going to be A. Now 26. 3x squared times 2x cubed is going to equal to. Now this is the same thing as 3 times 2 times x raised to the 2 plus 3 power. So 3 2's, that's going to give us 6, and 2 plus 3, that's going to give us 5, so it's going to give us 6x to the 5th power, and our answer for 26 is going to be B. Question 27. Two matrices A and B are conformable for multiplication. A times B. A. The number of rows in A is equal to the number of columns in B. And that's going to be our answer there. Because the number of rows in A has to equal to the number of columns in B for both matrices to be able to be multiplied. Alright? The determinant of the identity matrix that's going to be 0, because the identity matrix is 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1 times 1 is 1 minus 1, which gives us 0, because it's the leading diagonal, the product of the leading diagonal minus the product of the following diagonal, which is going to be 0 in this case. Alright? Question 29. If the vector P and Q are 3, 2 and -4, -1, 4 respectively, then P minus Q is, now we know that vector P is going to be 3, 2, right? That's vector P there, minus 2Q. So we know that 2Q, we're just going to use 2 to multiply all the elements in Q. So that's going to give us the vector 2 times -1, that's going to give us -2. And 2 times +4, that's going to give us 8. So 2Q is going to be -2, 8. Now we are subtracting both vectors. So it's going to be 3 minus -2. That's going to give us +5. And 2 minus 8, that's going to give us -6. So our answer is going to be D. Item 30 refers to the following parallelogram: W, X, Y, Z. In the parallelogram, vector XY is equal to U, and vector XW is equal to V. R is the midpoint of YZ. Now, number 30. Vector WR expressed in terms of U and V is, now we want vector WR, which means that we must start at W here and we must end up at R. So we want this vector here. Now to get vector WR, we can go vector from W to Z and then from Z to R. Now note that from W to Z is the same thing from X to Y, so this is going to be U. Now from Z to R here, note that the arrow is pointing down. So that means we are going the opposite of this arrow, so it's going to be -1/2 of V. Right? And we just put them together. So therefore, vector WR is going to equal to U minus half V, which is A in this case. Item 31. Given that 1 millimeter equals 1/1000 meters, 2,500 millimeters in meters is, clearly here our multiplication factor is going to be 1/1000. So it's going to be 2,500 multiplied by 1/1000. Zero is going to cancel out 0 here, and 0 is going to cancel out 0 here. And 25 divided by 10, that's going to give us 2.5. And 2.5 times 1 is just 2.5. So our answer for 31 is going to be P in this case. Item 32 refers to the following diagram, which shows a sector of circle AOB such that AOB equals 60 degrees and OB is R units long. 32. The area of AOB is, now the formula to calculate the area of a sector is going to be theta over 360 degrees times pi r squared. Right? Now, here, theta in this case is going to be 60 degrees. So it's going to be 60 degrees over 360 degrees times pi r squared. And note that 60 over 360 can be reduced to give us 60 to 60 going to be 1 and 16 to 360 going to be 6. So the area is going to be 1/6 pi r squared, which is going to be A in this case. Item 33. The volume in cubic centimeter of a cube of edge 3 centimeter is, now one thing about cube, all the edges are the same, they are equal. So the volume is going to equal to length cube. And in this case, the length is 3 centimeter. So it's going to be volume is going to equal to 3 times 3 times 3. So the volume is going to equal to 3 times 3, that's going to be 9, and 9 times 3, that's going to be 27. So it's going to be 27 cubic centimeter. And in this case, our answer is going to be C. Item 34. The perimeter of a square is 48 centimeter. What is the area in squared centimeter? So we know that a square has 4 equal sides. And we know we can calculate the perimeter of a square by multiplying the length of one side by 4. So therefore, 4 times L, which is the length of one side, is going to equal to the perimeter. And the perimeter is 48 in this case. Now from this, we can determine what the length of one side is going to be by dividing both sides by 4. Now 4 divided by 4 will give us 1. So on this side we're left back with L, which is equal to 4 into 4, that's going to be 1, and 4 into 4, that's going to be 1, and 4 into 8, that's going to be 2. So therefore the length of one side of the square is going to be 12 centimeter. Now to determine the area of the square, it is going to be the length multiplied by the length. So area, which is A in this case, is going to equal to length times the length. So area and length times length is just length squared. So area is going to be 12 squared. And 12 squared means 12 times 12. So area is going to equal to 144 squared centimeter. And in this case, our answer is going to be D. Item 35. Which of the following figure, not drawn to scale, has an area equal to half times 5 plus 4 times 2 square units? Now note here that each of these shapes are trapezium, and the area of a trapezium is going to equal to 1/2 times A plus B times the height. Right? So that's how you calculate the area of a trapezium. So we know that this 2 here would represent the height, and the 4 would represent B, and the 5 will represent A, where A and B are just the horizontal length, right? Now, if you look at option A, clearly there is no height on this shape, so A is not the answer. If you look at option B, there is no height again, so B is not the option. Here at C, they give us the height to be 5/2, but in the formula the height is 2, so C is not the answer. So when we look at D, we have the height to be 2. We know that A is going to be 4, and B in this case is going to be 5. So D is going to be the correct answer in this case. Item 36. The area of a rectangle is 53.6 squared centimeter. If the length is multiplied by 4 and the width is half, the area then would be. Now when you think about this, you calculate the area of a rectangle by multiplying the length times the width. Then they give us the area, which is 53.6 square centimeter. They tell us that we're going to multiply the length by 4, so we're going to multiply length by 4, and the width is going to be half, right? So we're going to half this 4, which is to divide by 2, which is going to give us 2 here. And this 2, we're going to take it to multiply the area, which is 53.6. And 2 times 53.6, that is going to give us an area of 107.2. So our answer is going to be C in this case. Item 37 refers to the following diagram, which shows a sector of a circle with center O. And here you can see the sector, and at the center O we have 60 degrees, right? Item 37. If the length of the minor arc PQ is 8 centimeter, what is the length of the circumference of the circle? So we know that PQ is going to be 8 centimeter, right? Also, we know that this sector, which is PQ, OQ, right, is a fraction of an entire circle, right? So if we were supposed to complete the circle here and go around, and we have the entire circle. Now this sector is just a fraction of it. Now the entire circle would have a total amount of 360 degrees. So this 60 degrees is a fraction of it. So what we are going to do is to see how many groups of 60 degrees can we get out of 360. So we're going to have 360 divided by 60. And 60 into 60, that's 1. And 60 into 360, that's going to be 6. So we have 6 groups of 60 degrees. Remember that the length of the arc for one group of 60 degrees, that's going to be 8. So the length for the entire circle is going to be 6 times 8, which is going to be 48. So the circumference of the circle is going to be 48 centimeters, and that answer would be C in this case. Item 38. The area of a triangle is 30 squared centimeter and its base is 10. What is the height in centimeter of the triangle? So we know that the formula that we use to calculate the area of a triangle is going to be base times the height over 2, which is equal to the area. And the area, right? Now we know the base here. So the base here is going to be 10. So it's going to be 10 h over 2 is going to equal to the area, and the area in this case is going to be 30. Now 10 divided by 2, that's just going to be 5. So on this side we're going to left back with 5h is equal to 30. Now to find what h is, we just need to divide both sides by 5. So if we divide this side by 5 and this side by 5, then h is going to equal to 30 divided by 5, which is 6. So the height is going to be 6, and that answer is going to be A. Item 39 refers to the following histogram, which shows the number of children aged 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 who took part in a survey. And here we have the histogram. And on the vertical axis, we have number of children. And on the horizontal axis, we have the age of the student. So let's try to interpret what this is saying. So one children age would be 8, right? Based on the graph. 2 children age here would be 6. 3 children age here would be 4. And 4 children age here would be 5. And 5 children age here would be 7. Now 39. What was the modal age? Now the modal age is which one appear most. And clearly 5 children, right, out of the survey was age 7. So age, the modal age is going to be 7 here. So answer is going to be C. Item 40 to 42 refers to the following diagram, which shows the cumulative frequency curve based on the marks of 200 students who took a driving test. And as you can see here, the graph, The cumulative frequency is on the y-axis and the mark is on the x-axis. Now question 40. The median mark scored by the 200 students is, now median means the middle score, right? Now because it's an even number, which is 200 students, we know that the median is going to fall between 100 and 101, which is going to be 100.5, right? So here we know that this is 40, then this is 80, this is 120. So right here at this point here, we're going to have 100. So 100 and 100.5 is going to be just above this dark line here. So what we're going to do is to draw a horizontal line going across and where it touched the graph, we're going to draw a line going down. So we're going to draw a line going straight down. And my lines are not perfect. Now, we know that here this is 20 and here this is 30. So that means this would be 25. So up to this line here, that's 35 and that's about 30. This seems about 37.5. So the median score here is going to be about 37.5, right? So our answer for question 40 is going to be B. Continuing with the May-June 2019 CSEC past paper, item 40 to 42 refers to the following diagram, which shows the cumulative frequency curve based on the marks of 200 students who took a driving test. And as you can see here on the y-axis, that is the cumulative frequency, and on the x-axis, that is the mark. Now, item 41. What is the interquartile range of the marks scored by the 200 students? Now, the interquartile range is the third quarter minus the first quarter. So that is going to be Q3 minus Q1, right? And that will give us the interquartile range. Now, in order to find the position of Q3, then that is going to be 3/4 of the total population. So we can find Q3 by finding 3/4 of the total population, and the total population is going to be 200 here. So it's going to be 3/4 times 200. And 3/4 times 200, 4 into 4, 1. And 4 into 200, that's going to be 50. And 3 times 50, that's going to be 150. So Q3 position is going to be at 150, right? Now, in order to get the value of Q3, we need to find the position first, and the position is on the y-axis. Here is 40, and between 0 and 40 we have 10 of these small boxes. So if we want to know how much one of the small boxes is, we have to divide 40 by 10, and that's going to give us 4. So one of the small boxes represent 4, and we need to locate 150. So here is 120, which means that here will be 140. One of the small box will be 4, so that would be 144. Another small box would be 148, and halfway between the next one would be 150. So 150 is about here. When you find 150, we're going to draw a horizontal line that goes straight across, that touches the cumulative frequency, like this one. My line is not as straight as it should be. It's not drawn with accuracy, but your own should be drawn with accuracy. And then you come straight down, and here is 40, and the scale that they are using, between 10 and 20, there are 10 stroke small boxes, so that means each of them is 1. So it means that here is 40, this would be 41, 42, this is about 42.5. So Q3 would be about 42.5. Now we need to find Q1 position, and that's going to be 1/4 of 200. And 1/4 of 200, that's what's going to give us 50. So we need to find 50 and the cumulative frequency and the y-axis here. So this is 40. And remember that each of the small boxes is 4. So this is going to be 44. Then we have 48. And then 50 is out just about halfway between here. So we'd go across. The quartile range for Q1 is going to be 30. So it's going to be 42.5 minus 30, and that's going to give us 12.5. So the answer for question 41 is going to be A. Item 42. If 38% of the students passed the test, what was the pass mark? Well, you know that the amount of percent represents 100. So if 38% pass the test, it means that 62% would have scored a mark below the pass mark, right? So what we can do, we can find 62% of the total population. So that's going to be 62 over 100 multiplied by 200. And 62 over 100, this 0 is going to cancel out here, and this 0 is going to cancel out here. And 62 times 2, that's going to equal to 124. Now this 124 is the position on the y-axis. So that gives us the position that we need to locate, and then we can take off the reading on the x-axis, right? So we need to go to 124. So this is 80. And 80 plus 20, that is 100. And 100, this is 120 here. And we need 124. It's just one of these small little boxes here. So 124 is just about here. We're going to go across in a straight line. And then when we touch the cumulative frequency curve, we're going to go straight down in a straight line and take off the reading down there. And the reading here is 40, right? So our answer for 42 is going to be 40. That means the pass mark is 40, okay? Item 43. The following table shows the frequency scores obtained by students in a test. So here in the first row, we can see the scores. In the second row, that is the frequency. Then the question asks, the range of the scores are. What range here means is that the range is the highest value minus the least value or the lowest value. So here, when you look at the table, the highest value is going to be 10. And the least value is going to be 2. So the range is going to be 10 minus 2, which gives us 8. So our answer for 43 is going to be C. Item 44 refers to the following two-way table, which shows the mode of transportation to school on a particular day for a group of 200 students. And here we have bus, taxi, walk, total, and we have male, female, and total here. Now 44. A male student is picked at random from the group. What is the probability that he does not walk to school on that day? So what is the probability that he does not walk to school? Now another way to look at that, it is saying what is the probability of him driving to school. So if he does not walk to school, it means that he either take bus or he either take the taxi, right? Now the total amount of male here is 108, right? Now if he takes bus, what's the probability of taking bus? The probability of taking bus, right? For bus, I'm just going to use B. The probability of taking bus, that's going to equal to 30 boys out of a total of 108 boys, right? And the probability of taking taxi, I'm just going to use T for taxi. The probability of taking taxi is going to be 50 males out of a total of 108. Now, the probability of taking either bus or taxi is just going to be the sum of these two probabilities. So it's going to be 30 plus 50 all over 108, and 30 plus 50, that's going to give us 80 over 108, and 80 over 108, when you reduce this is just going to give you 20 out of 27. So the probability of not walking to school is going to be 20 out of 30, and our answer is going to be C here. Item 45. Which of the following represents the graph of a function? Now for any of these solutions to represent the graph of a function, it must first pass a vertical test. Meaning that if we pick any one of the points or all of the points and draw a vertical line, it should only pass through one single point for it to be a function. So let's look at option A. If I pick this point here and I draw a vertical line through it, this vertical line will only pass through that point. If I pick this point and I draw a vertical line through it, It will only pass through that point. If I pick this point here and I draw a straight line through it, it will only pass through that point. And if I pick this point down here and draw a vertical line through that point, it will only pass through that point. So right away, A passed the test, so A would be our answer. But let's also look at B. If you pick this point up here and you draw a vertical line here, note that this vertical line here will pass through 2 points. And if you pick this one over here, it will also pass through 2 points. So this one would fail the test, right? So it's not a function. And if you look at this one, you pick any point and draw a vertical line, you note that this vertical line passes through all 4 points. That means it's failed the vertical test and it cannot be a function. All right. Let's look at 46. If f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 1, then f of minus 3 is, what this means, we are substituting minus 3 for x in the function. So we know that f of 3 is therefore going to equal to 2 open bracket negative 3 all squared minus 1. Negative 3 all squared means negative 3 times negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 3, that's going to give us a positive 9. And we must multiply that positive 9 by 2. And then we must subtract 1. So 2 times 9, that's going to give us 18. And 18 minus 1, that's going to give us 17. So our solution for 46 is going to be C. Item 47 refers to the following graph of a straight line. Here we have a straight line and we have 2 points, and this line point B and point A. Now 47. The straight line AB cuts the y-axis at, now when you look at this point here, the graph cuts the y-axis at negative 2. But note that the y-axis is also known as x equal 0. And what this means, it means that for every point that you pick on the y-axis, then the x coordinate is going to be 0. So here, the coordinate for A is going to be 0, comma, negative 2. Right? So that's the coordinate for A here. X equals 0 and y equal negative 2. So clearly our answer is going to be D. Item 48. The equation of the line which passes through the point 0, 5 and has a gradient of 4 is, now one way we can do this question is by elimination, right? Now, for the first option, when you look at the first option, y is equal to 4x. Yes, the gradient is 4, right? And this is saying that the y-intercept value is 0, which doesn't satisfy this information here from the question. So A is not the answer. Now, when you look at B, clearly B is not going to be the answer because the gradient of this line is 5. And in the question, they tell us that the gradient is 4. So we can just automatically eliminate B. And also you can just look at D and automatically eliminate D because the gradient of the equation at D is 5. So we're left back with only one option, which is C. And clearly our answer is going to be C here. If you note that so the gradient here is 4 and 5 is the y-intercept value, which means that if 5 is the y-intercept value, x is equal to 0. So of course it passes through the point 0, 5. All right. Item 49, the range of f of x maps onto x cubed for the domain -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 is. Now the first thing what we can do is to rewrite this question as a function. So as a function, this is just f of x is equal to x cubed. Now what we're going to do, we're going to just sub all of the value of the domain into the function and calculate, and it will give us the corresponding y value. So let's say that we're going to substitute x for -2 first. So we're going to find f of -2 is equal to, and where we see x, we're going to replace it with -2. So it's going to be -2 all cubed. And -2 all cubed, that is just 2 times 2 times 2. But it's -2. So you have to remember that. So -2 times -2, that's going to give us +4. And +4 times -2, that's going to give us -8. So when x is -2, the corresponding y value is going to be -8. So already, by getting -8 for our first value, we already know that our answer cannot be A, our answer will not be B, and our answer will not be C. So there's only one possible answer here, and that is D. But let's just do another one to make sure. So if we find f of -1, then f of -1 is going to equal to -1 all cubed, which is going to give us -1. So another value is going to be -1. And if you keep substitute, when you substitute 0, our next value will be 0. And if you substitute 1, our next value is going to be 1. And you substitute +2, our next value is going to be 8. So clearly our answer is going to be D. Now to item 50 to 51 refers to the following graph of a function. And here this is a quadratic function here. Now item 50. The value of x for which y is equal to 4x minus x squared intersect y equals 0 are. Now when y is equal to 0, the x-axis, that's what they are talking about. So another name for the x-axis is y equals 0, because for any x value that you pick on the x-axis, the corresponding y coordinate is going to be 0. X equals 0 and x equals 4. So our answer for 50 is going to be A. Item 51. The coordinate of the turning point of y equals 4x minus x squared are. The turning point of this graph is going to be the maximum value or the highest point on the graph, which is going to be at this point here. Now, in order to get the coordinate, you need to read the x value. So if I draw a straight line from here going down to the x-axis, that will give me 2. And if I draw a straight line going horizontal, going towards the y-axis here, that will give me 4. So therefore, the turning point is going to be 2, 4. So our answer is going to be D. Item 51. Which of the following pairs of lines are perpendicular? Now, one fact that you should always remember about perpendicular line, the product of their gradient is equal to -1. So therefore, M1, which is gradient 1, multiplied by gradient 2 is equal to -1. Right? So what we're going to do, we're going to observe our option, and whichever pair of equations satisfy this condition, that means that pair of equations are perpendicular lines. Now let's look at C here. Note that C, the first equation, is written in the form y equal mx plus c. So C is going to be y equal minus 4x plus 10, right? The second equation is 4y equal x plus 1. What we're going to do is to write this equation in the form y equal mx plus c. In order to do that, we need to divide each term here by 4. If we divide each term by 4, then we are going to get y is equal to 1 over 4 x plus 1/4. Now, the gradient of both lines is the coefficient of the x term. So here, the gradient of this line is going to be -4. And the gradient of this line is going to be 1 over 4. Now, if both lines are perpendicular, then when we multiply their gradients, we should get -1. So let's do that. So it's going to be -4 multiplied by 1 over 4 -4 times 1, that's going to give us -4 over 4, and -4 over 4 is the same thing as -1. So therefore, our answer is going to be C, because it satisfies the condition. So perpendicular lines, the product of their gradients is equal to -1, or you could say one is the negative inverse of the other. So the gradient, one gradient is the negative inverse of the other. Let's take a quick look at option B. Option B could not be the answer, but there is something important happening about option B. Note here the gradient of this line is 2 and the gradient of this line is 2. Whenever two lines have the same gradient, they are said to be parallel lines. So parallel lines have the same gradient. What's a point for you to note? Item 53 refers to the following diagram of a transformation, and here is the transformation. 53. What transformation maps PQR onto P prime Q prime R prime? Is it an enlargement? No, so A is not the answer. Is it a rotation? No, so B is not the answer. Is it a cancellation? No, so C is not the answer. Is it a reflection? Absolutely yes. So D is the answer. Item 54 refers to the following diagram of an isosceles triangle, right? In the triangle, the value of x is, now in an isosceles triangle, it has two equal sides and two equal angles. So this angle here is 30. It means that this angle here is also 30 degrees. Now, the sum of the interior angle in any triangle adds up to give 180 degrees. So here we have 30 degrees plus another 30 degrees. That's going to give us 60 degrees. So therefore, 60 plus what value gives us 180 degrees? That's going to be 120 degrees. So x is 120. So our answer is going to be C. Item 55 refers to the following transversal diagram in which the line AB, which is this line AB, and CD are parallel, right? 55. Which of the following best describe the relation between X and Y? Right? So there is angle X, here is angle Y. The first option, so A is not the answer. B, X is equal to Y. Yes. And the reason for that is angle X and angle Y is what we call Z angles or alternate angles. And our alternate angles are equal. Alright? Item 56 refers to the following pair of similar triangles. And here we have one triangle which is ABCD, and the next one is MON. The length on MO in centimeter is, now one thing about similar triangles, we can use ratio and proportion, right? So we can ratio the similar side. So here we have AB, so we're going to ratio AB to MN, so it's going to be MN, and that is going to equal to AC, which is AC here, over MO. Now what we're going to do is to substitute the length for each side. So AB is going to equal to 6 divided by MN, that's going to be 3, equal to AC, that's going to be 7 over MO. That's what we want to find. Now 6 divided by 3, that's going to give us 2, which is equal to 7 over MO. If we want to find MO, what we're going to do is to multiply both sides by MO. And if we multiply both sides by MO, we're going to get 2 MO is equal to 7. And then what we're going to do, we're going to divide both sides by 2 because we want MO by itself. So 2 divide 2, therefore MO is equal to 7 over 2, and 7 over 2 as a decimal is going to be 3.5. So our answer is going to be C. Item 57. The image of a point P, 1, 2 under a translation is P prime, -5, -4. What is the translation vector? Now, if we have a vector, right? And what we're going to do is to rewrite these vectors as column vector. So if we have the vector OP, the vector OP plus the translation vector, and in this case we don't know the translation vector because that's what we want to find. So let's use TV for translation vector must equal to the image, and the image in this case is going to be OP prime, right? So the image vector. So therefore, OP as a column vector is going to be 1, 2. Let's say that the translated vector is going to be X, Y, because we don't know it. And it's going to equal to the image vector, and as a column vector, it's going to be -5, -4. So in order to find the translated vector, we must subtract the vector OP, right, from both sides. So it's going to be X, Y, which is the translated vector in this case, is going to equal to the image vector, which is -5, minus the original vector, which is OP in this case. So what we're going to do is to just subtract corresponding elements. So it's going to be -5 minus 1, and then it's going to be -4 minus 2. So therefore, XY is going to equal to -5 minus 1, that's going to be -6, and -4 minus 2, that's going to be -6. So a translation vector is going to be -6, and that option is A in this case. Item 58 refers to the following diagram, and here we have an enlargement. Now 58, OAA prime, comma, OBB prime, and OCC prime are straight lines. Triangle ABC is mapped onto triangle A prime, B prime, C prime by an enlargement with center O. What is the scale factor of the enlargement? Now the scale factor of the enlargement can be found by ratioing the image length over the corresponding object length, right? So any one of the sides you can pick. So here, if you look at the image, it's going to, the image is A prime, C prime, right? And as you can see, this length is going to be 4, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the object length is going to be 1, 2. So object length is going to be 2. So therefore, the scale factor, which I'm going to use SF for scale factor. So the scale factor is going to equal to the absolute value, which is the length of A prime, C prime, which is going to be 4, divided by AC, which is 2, and 4 divided by 2, that's just going to equal to 2. So therefore the scale factor is 2, and our answer is going to be C. Item 59. A plane is flying in a direction of 045 degrees and change course in a clockwise direction to 135 degrees. The angle through which the plane turn is, now the angle through which the plane turn is going to be 90 degrees, which is B. But let's look at this in a graphical perspective. Now, let's say the plane was traveling from point A, which is this point here. First thing we need our north line, right? So this is our north line here. And from north, the plane was traveling at an angle of 0.45 degrees. So let's say 90 degrees is here. So 45 degrees is going to be halfway between. So the plane was traveling on this part, going in this direction, right? So from north to this line, that's 0.45 degrees or 45 degrees, right? Then the plane changed course to now 135 degrees. So let's say that it reaches this point. Here we need a north line, right? Again to show. And from north, we need 135 degrees. So let's say north, this is north. That means this line here would be south. So 135 degrees is going to be somewhere around here. So the plane is now going in this direction, right? So that means the angle from north to this direction, that's going to be 135 degrees. Now what we want to do is to determine the angle, right, that allow the plane to change direction. So remember that the plane was already traveling 45 degrees and then now it reaches 135 degrees. So it's going to be a difference between 135 minus 45. That's going to give us 90 degrees. Alright? To our final question. Item 60 refers to the following diagram, not drawn to scale, which shows that the angle of depression of a point X from Z is 30 degrees, right? And this is the angle of depression, this 30 degrees here. Now 60. If X is 10 meters from Y, the height of YZ in meter is, so we want to find this height here, which is YZ. Now we know the length of XY, right? So here, do we know this angle here? Yes, we can determine this angle. The angle of depression is equal to the angle of elevation. So therefore, this angle is going to be 30 degrees. Or you could say that alternate angles are equal, or Z angles are equal. So now we know that this angle is 30 degrees. Now let's label our triangle in relationship to this 30 degrees angle. If we draw a straight line going across here, so where YZ is, that would be our opposite side, right? Because this side is opposite to this 30 degree angle. If we draw a line going towards this side where 10 is, then 10 would be our adjacent side here. So 10 is adjacent to the angle. Now when you have opposite and adjacent, there is a ratio that comes to mind, and that ratio is tangent. So we know that tan theta is going to equal to opposite length over the adjacent length, right? And the angle here is going to be 30. So what we're going to do is to substitute these values. So therefore, it's going to be tan of 30 degrees is going to equal to the opposite side, which is yz in this case, over the adjacent side, which is going to be 10 in this case. And if we transpose to make yz the subject of the formula, all we need to do is to multiply both sides by 10. So our answer is going to be 10 tan of 30 degrees is equal to yz. So our answer is going to be A in this case.